I want to thank our reader and Gary Lynn Floyd and our music team for the great music today. And with Halloween right around the corner, you might think this message is about zombies that are going to burst open with steam at any moment and create those nightmare-provoking images. It's not a House of Horrors message. Rather, it's about spiritual philosophy. With Ernest Holmes referring to being open at the top, he was describing the idea that spiritual understanding and the science of mind philosophy should remain open and flexible and evolving. Holmes emphasized that while fundamental spiritual principles such as the unity of all life, the power of thought, and the creative nature of our mind are universal and timeless, our personal understanding of these principles should never be rigid or dogmatic. Rather, teachings must be adaptable and receptive to new truths as humanity's understanding of life evolves, and as the universe and the God that we know evolves as well. But before I continue, let me give you your question for the week. What is the one choice you can make today to continually seek the truth, to let go of dogma and embrace love, and to embrace change and expanded consciousness? One more time. What is the one choice you can make today to continually seek the truth, to let go of dogma and embrace love, and to embrace change and expanded consciousness? So a rabbi, a priest, and a Buddhist happened to meet while they were traveling on a path to a faraway mountain to discover more of who God was. And they discussed their various lives and what their philosophies were, and they got to be really good friends. But when they got to the bottom of the mountain, there were multiple paths to the top. And the priest says, well, I've been directed to take this path. And the Buddhist says, well, I've been directed to take that path over there. And the rabbi said, well, I'm taking the path right in front of me. So they each went about their own ways, going to the top of the mountain. And when they reached the top, they met again and noticed that although they took different paths, they all ended up in the same place at the top of the mountain. This story is relevant to being open at the top while still embracing what we know is the truth for ourselves. The rabbi, the priest, and the Buddhist each held to their non-negotiable beliefs, and yet were willing to notice the oneness of life, and that there were many paths that led to the same enlightenment. As you heard in the reading today, every person I meet is a center of the great unity of life. Holmes' approach to spirituality encouraged a broad exploration of wisdom from various spiritual traditions, and it emphasized the importance of personal experience and discovery over rigid adherence to some specific doctrine. In fact, he wrote about the philosophy which he created, that's the basis for our centers, and here's what he said. We have launched a movement which in the next 100 years will be the great new religious impulsion of modern times. It is a movement to be open at the top for greater receptivity of truth from all sources, that it may become a greater influence in the lives of men. Now, I want to point out that last phrase, greater receptivity of truth from all sources. Holmes understood that truth with a capital T is vast and uncontainable. It's not restricted to any one philosophy, to any one doctrine, or to any one religion. It's universal, infinite, and continually unfolding. Being open at the top means maintaining an openness to learning, to evolving, and to discovering new dimensions of spiritual truth as we go through our lives. It's an invitation to a journey of endless growth. It's important for us to remember that spiritual understanding is not static. Being open at the top implies that we are always learning and always expanding our consciousness, that we welcome new ideas, new insights, new discoveries. Holmes saw spirituality as a dynamic process where we continually deepen our awareness of divine truth. By staying open, we avoid becoming locked into outdated or narrow interpretations of spiritual principles. So, to help understand this concept, let's look at what spiritual rigidity would be. When we become closed off to new ideas or insights, our spiritual life becomes stagnant. It's like a garden that no longer gets watered. At first, the plants start to wither, and eventually, there's nothing that can grow. Spiritual rigidity occurs when we believe that we've figured it all out. We stop exploring, we stop questioning, and we close ourselves off from the vastness of divine wisdom that's always available to us. And this can happen to individuals, to communities, to entire religious movements. It's one reason why Holmes didn't want to have a religion based upon his philosophy. The moment that we believe that our understanding of God or life or spiritual truth is complete, we've effectively shut ourselves off from further growth. We've stopped watering our amazing minds and hearts. Why would anybody choose spiritual rigidity, right? Holmes believed that each person's spiritual journey is unique and evolving. And by remaining open at the top, individuals continue to grow in their personal relationship with the divine, as well as expanding their consciousness and understanding through prayer or meditation or study, and even through life experiences. So since being open at the top means acknowledging that there's more to learn and there are always deeper levels of understanding available to us, and there are always new revelations waiting to be discovered, it seems important to me to pause right now and let you know what our center has to help you remain open at the top. Here's a few of them. Our Sunday services provide messages each week to awaken you to a deeper understanding on whatever the topic happens to be. And following the services, we have a process to gain more insight into how the Sunday message directly applies to your life. If you miss the call, you can use the questions that are available online. And we have a midweek meditation. It provides an opportunity to pause in the middle of the week and more deeply connect with your own spiritual essence. Holmes reminded us in the Living the Science of Mind, we learned that when we get our own consciousness straightened out, things in our external world adjust themselves to meet our new and better inward awareness. Now, that's a reason to come to meditation, isn't it? Also, every morning and every evening, Monday through Friday, we have daily prayers. We delve into a reading from our yearly journal, and the readings provide us yet another way to recognize our blind spots or to become more aware of how we might expand our beliefs and replace those beliefs that we hold on to that really aren't serving us. As Holmes put it, one of the interesting things that we learn in the science of mind is that the very thought patterns we create, in a certain sense, gradually obsess us. They can reach a point where we become hypnotized by them and we go around in a dream state, imagining that everything and everyone is against us. Wow, we have truly stopped growing when we get to that state. And I know I want to be open rather than obsessed. How about you? And finally, although we're not currently offering classes, classes and workshops are another way to remain open at the top. And by the way, we will be starting classes up again in spring of 2025. And I'm looking forward to offering a number of workshops to enhance our personal health and wealth. The truth is, spiritual growth is a never-ending process. Being open at the top means that we are lifelong students of the divine. Life itself becomes our classroom, and every experience offers an opportunity to deepen our understanding of spiritual principles. One of the most powerful aspects of this idea is that it encourages humility, recognizing that no matter how far we've come on our spiritual journey, there's always more ahead for us. This doesn't mean that we haven't made great progress. It does mean, however, that the journey itself is infinite. And within the infinite journey lies the beauty of spiritual discovery. I know that I just love discovering new things or finding some of my little blind spots so that I can replace them with better beliefs. In his own life, Holmes embraced this idea of being open at the top fully from the time when he was little. There's a story about him when he was about 7. He lived on a farm, and a horse showed up on their farm, and nobody knew who the horse belonged to. And he went and took the reins of the horse and started walking down the road. And his mom says, "Where are you going? We don't know who that horse belongs to." He says, "We don't have to know. The horse knows where it lives." And he was able to take the horse home. So that's a interesting story because it reminds us that there's a lot that we know if we just tap into it. And that we can see that other people might know things that we don't know, and they might lead us to new discoveries. When traveling and writing The Science of Mind, Holmes constantly drew from diverse sources: science, philosophy, psychology, quantum physics, world religions. He used all of those sources to expand his understanding of the spiritual principles that he taught. He saw these fields as complementary to spirituality, not contradictory, hence the name Science of Mind. And I love that Holmes believed that every new scientific discovery or philosophical insight was another piece of the puzzle that brings us closer to understanding the divine nature of the universe and how spiritual laws operate in this material world. So let's get practical here. How do we live a life that's open at the top? How do we apply this principle to our daily lives? Well, the first thing is we have to learn to be curious. There's a power in curiosity. It's a spiritual quality that drives us to ask questions, to seek deeper understanding, and to explore new ideas. When we're curious, we're actively participating in the expansion of our consciousness. Have you ever watched a child or listened to a child for a while or spent a day with them? When they're young, they ask a lot of why and how questions. They can really eventually get on your nerves because everything they want to know, it's why or how. They're driven by a desire to understand the world around them. In many ways, our spiritual life is similar. When we maintain a childlike sense of wonder and curiosity, we remain open to the ongoing revelation of truth. I've mentioned this quote of Holmes before. Life is a mirror and will reflect back to the thinker what he thinks into it. If we approach life with curiosity, with openness, and with a willingness to learn, life reflects that back to us. We receive new insights. We see new opportunities for growth and new revelations that enrich our spiritual lives. And remember, each person's spiritual journey is unique and evolving. By remaining open at the top, we continue to grow in our personal relationship with the divine, and we expand our consciousness and understanding of that relationship through things like prayer and meditation, study, life experiences, classes, a lot of the things that we mentioned earlier. And open at the top means that we don't limit ourselves to one way of thinking or one belief system. As much as I love the philosophy of the science of mind, there are a lot of other philosophies that have expanded my spiritual growth. Most of you probably know that I love A Course in Miracles. And there's many other Buddhist sayings and religious teachers that I listen to that help me expand my knowledge of who I see the divine to be. And it's important that we open ourselves to learning from diverse traditions and from all of our experiences. Like the rabbi, the priest, and the Buddhist story that I began with, it doesn't mean that we have to abandon what we hold dear or those beliefs that are, for us, the foundation of our faith. Being curious allows us to find spiritual insights in places we never expected them, perhaps with conversations with people from different cultural backgrounds, or through a scientific article, even through art and music. I know for me, music is a spiritual experience. When we're open, the universe has countless ways that it speaks to us. Did you know that quantum physics has actually proved that God exists? It's quite fascinating to me, and it's a topic for another time. But to hear those whispers from the universe, from art and music or whatever, means that we have to be willing to let go of our own judgment and our own certainty about certain things. Have you ever noticed how much our ego wants certainty and control? I know I like to believe that I know everything about certain things and that my way to do them is the right way, or at least the best way. But when we're living with an open heart and mind, we let go of that need to be right. It also means that we're willing to say, I don't have all the answers, and that's okay. When we let go of our need for certainty and surrender to the greater wisdom of the universe, we create space for greater wisdom to flow into our lives. And that's exactly what being open at the top means. And when the greater wisdom flows in, we have to accept that we might have to do some changing or some transformation. If there's one thing that I think that you would agree upon with me, it's this: life is constantly changing. And spiritual growth requires us to adapt, to evolve, and to transform. Sometimes it means letting go of some old beliefs or some old habits, being willing to allow those things that no longer serve us to drop by the wayside. It means that sometimes we reinvent ourselves, and it especially means that we learn to trust the divine in guiding us forward towards our highest good. As we discussed last week, when Holmes said, change your thinking, change your life, that was an invitation to be open at the top, not only to have an enriched life, but to recognize that when we're continually expanding our thinking, it naturally leads to an expanded, enriched life. You're no doubt aware that the basis of this philosophy is Holmes' book, The Science of Mind. It was intentionally about keeping the philosophy non-dogmatic. Holmes recognized that different paths and different teachers and different religions lead to the same universal truths. In fact, when he wrote The Science of Mind, he wanted to create a philosophy that could be added to anybody's religion. In Living the Science of Mind, he wrote this: "The religious science movement is gradually spreading as though it had a cosmic purpose behind it, but there is nothing dogmatic about it. You can add the science of mind to your own religion, whatever form it may take, and find it to be effective. For principles are no respecters of persons, and heaven has no favorites. All religions which have helped people have helped them because of our common denominator running through each, and that is faith is something greater than the isolated self." Faith is something greater than the isolated self. It's greater than any one of us. Yet, let's not diminish that our individual openness is not limited to just our lives. In the interconnectedness of life, being open at the top is not just about personal growth. It has profound implications for the collective consciousness. We believe that we're all connected. Imagine if more people embrace this mindset, if communities and organizations and nations approach life with openness and with curiosity and with a willingness to learn and listen from each other. What would our world look like if we were open and learning from one another? If we valued each other's insights, and if we welcomed new ideas? There'd be more collaboration, more unity, and less division. In fact, the divisions that often plague humanity, whether they be political, religious, or social, stem from rigid thinking and the belief that one group has all the answers while others do not. And of course, it's the group that you belong to. When we're open at the top, we acknowledge that truth is not confined to one group or belief system. We recognize that wisdom is found everywhere, and that by listening to others, we enrich our own understanding and contribute to a more harmonious world. The call to be open at the top is an invitation to live a life of infinite spiritual growth, of curiosity, of openness. It reminds us that truth is ever expanding and that we are a part of that ongoing, unfolding process of discovering divine wisdom. It calls us to be humble, to be curious, to be willing to learn, and to always seek new insights and deeper understanding. And it rests on one of our center's foundational blocks, inclusivity. Reminds us that inclusivity includes not only being inclusive of everyone and whatever their race or thoughts are, but of everyone's spiritual practice. In an earlier quote, we heard that Holmes tells us that principles are no respecters of persons and heaven has no favorites. And yet, religion is quite important. In Living the Science of Mind, Holmes wrote this: "A world without religion would be chaos. A world built on dogma alone would be arbitrary. Surely any religion which holds that the final truth has been delivered once and for all to its own group must contain a large amount of superstition and therefore prohibits the further evolution of the human mind." Holmes also encouraged us to remember and to use this affirmation: "I know that I am a divine being on the pathway of an endless self-expression, and that the eternal God is my host, now and forevermore. So in summary, how might you learn to live a life and be open at the top? Well, continually seek the truth. Truth isn't limited to one religion, one doctrine, one philosophy. And spiritual understanding is a dynamic process. So embrace curiosity, humility, and uncertainty. Be willing to ask questions and explore new ideas. Let go of the judgments you have and stop believing that you know best. Create space for new wisdom and allow yourself to be willing to change. And when you do that, notice the impact on the collective consciousness. Know that faith is greater than any individual. And recognize wisdom is found in many places. So here's your affirmation for the week. How is it I so willingly, energetically, and effortlessly continually seek the truth, let go of dogma and embrace love, and embrace change and expanded consciousness? So I'm going to invite you this week to make a conscious choice to be fully present in all of your interactions with others. And perhaps use the affirmation that I'm going to give you here based upon Holmes' words. How is it I so joyfully know I am a divine being on the pathway to an endless self-expression, and that the eternal God is my host, now and forevermore? So let's pray. We take a deep, nourishing breath, and we recognize the God that is love and joy and peace and ease. And we know that that God lives right within each of us. That we are as God created us. In that love, in that light, in that freedom. And what I absolutely know to be the truth is that each of us has come here today and has heard something that is going to expand your consciousness. That as you came into this service and opened yourself to hearing whatever it was that touched your heart, that you have been open at the top. And you've had an opportunity to delve deeper into that experience of the infinite journey that we're on to discovery of who we are and who God is. And I am grateful for the time that you spent with us, and grateful to know that as we remain open at the top, we have an impact, not only on ourselves, but on this planet, on the collective consciousness. And it's from that gratitude that I release these words into that divine yes, because I know it's already done. And knowing that, I say amen. And we can affirm it together. And so it is. I continue to thank everyone that's supporting us financially and with your efforts to help in whatever way you can. We are continuing to look for a place, and we should have more information about that fairly soon. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy our offertory song.